I feel in some ways I'm an ambassador for this festival in that, of course, when I'm not here, I'm traveling the world conducting different orchestras. I have the opportunity to work with the greatest soloists, the greatest singers, the greatest instrumentalists, and with the possibility that we may be able to invite them here. And that was what happened with Nicolas. I worked with him for the first time 2 years ago in Sydney. We were performing in Sydney and in New Zealand. Nicolas is a very, very fine cellist, and we hit it off famously, and we had quite a bit of off time between the concerts, and we spent a lot of time together, and it was abundantly clear to me that this is a person for this festival. He knows many of the people I know, he knows many of the conductors I know, many of the musicians with whom we work here at the festival. So yes, I invited him, and one of the first things he did once he was invited was work out what hikes he would take. He is very, very happy to be in the mountains, so I think he'll be a perfect fit. But most importantly, he's an extremely charismatic musician, and the repertoire he's chosen is a perfect vessel to experience that. Robin Williams once said that music is God's little reminder that there's something else besides us in this universe. And I think there's that sentiment very much for each and every one of us when the going gets tough, that I will always look to music. I might look to literature, but I would always look to music just to be fully aware of the fact that everybody, in some form, in some degree, goes through heartache, goes through sadness, goes through grief, goes through loss. And music for me is always a place to which I will then go. I marvel at the fact that musicians or composers can take that same, let's say, in the case of Tchaikovsky in the Sixth Symphony. This was a man who was plagued by depression, plagued by self-doubt, and had the genius to be able to, in some ways, convey that to the world through this music. And it's always a little like some of the greatest themes are Tchaikovsky themes. They're like songs without words. And I think it is. It is. I don't think. I know it is. It's the music is, in this case, God's little reminder that there's something besides us in this universe, something that will perhaps one day, in a curious way, make sense of it all. The single most important thing I take from my years of experience in the Opera House, working with really the greatest singers in the world, is flexibility, is the ability to be flexible, is the ability at any given moment, however complex musically, you are in a position, you're being attuned to the situation is so acute that you can make changes, little fluctuations in tempo. When you hear that you may not be with the singer at that moment, and the singer may, for a variety of reasons, just need something a little slower, or there has been a slight mistake, or the chorus is 12 feet away and they're a little behind you, or they get ahead of you. There are so many aspects to what opera is, so many cogs in the wheel. And that's what I really have learned, that at any given moment, it's much like looking, you're a pilot, you're in the cockpit, and you have all these dials, and in some way, you have to be able to see them all and immediately sense when one dial is telling you something you don't want to know. And that, I think, is what, coming then from the opera to the symphony orchestra, which is in a sense far less complex, it's just a symphony orchestra. There's no offstage bands, there's no chorus back in the auditorium. It is somewhat simpler, but I think it's that flexibility in phrasing, that freedom to make music, and at the same time also always aware that at the core is the human voice. In a symphony orchestra, at the core is the human voice. Any great phrasing, any great sound is ultimately the emulation of a great voice, and how they phrase, and how they nuance. And that, I sense, is where many orchestras with whom I've worked, with whom I've done opera in concert without the staging, are deeply grateful, because these, particularly in symphony orchestras, they perform with singers. But opera is a completely different discipline in a way, and they're very thankful for the chance to, they all of a sudden, their ears become 4 times larger, because they are listening. They are, of course, focusing on what they're playing, but at the same time, they're listening to 4 singers, 6 singers, 8 singers. And that is just, putting all of that together is a joy.